Okay, good afternoon. Before we get to the Haftorah, a very strange incident in the parsha where Yaakov Avinu dresses up as Esav. He dresses up in Esav's clothing in order to what? To get the bracha. Avi, why did Yaakov have to go through the charade, dressing like Esav? Why couldn't he just be himself and get the bracha? Why did I have to go masquerade as what? As Esav. And why tell me about it? What's the message? The Torah is not a history book. The Torah is God's GPS. What is the message that Yaakov had to masquerade as Esav in order to get the bracha? Why couldn't he just be himself? What is the message? Ma mesepo. I think the message is that even though a Jew, Yaakov, dresses and acts like Esav, masquerades like Esav. We just saw the film where the Hollywood moguls all tried to hide their Jewishness. Avi, they tried to hide their Yaakov, pretending that they're what? They're Esav. We just came from that film. Incredible. Moka wiki dinky. They still deserve a bracha. A Jew is a Jew. Even though he masquerades as a Hollywood mogul or an Esav, the Yaakov inside can never be extinguished. The Pintal Yid remains. And even though he's masquerading as an Esav, he still deserves the bracha. He still has a tzelem al him. He still has the chelik al yimal. I think that's one of the messages, yes?
And one of their companies would not hire my husband.
Right.
Because he was a Sabbath
observer.
Jew.
Right.
He said, I'll work all Saturday night,
right.
all Sunday. You'll have your work Monday morning. You'll have your work. And they refused to.
Okay.
But it turned out for the best.
I call it Tova, but I think it's a powerful message. Some Jews tried to disguise their Yaakovness in the guise of Esav. Afal Pikain, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. But let's look at the Haftorah. Very interesting Haftorah that we're going to read special. It's in the back of the blue books. I don't know, I think it's 1207, I'm not sure. It's the Haftorah of Erev Rosh Chodesh. Since this Shabbos is Erev Rosh Chodesh, so we're not going
1207.
to... 1207. So you have a good memory. 1207. Since this Shabbos is Erev Rosh Chodesh, so therefore we're not going to read, Avi, the regular Haftorah. We're going to read the Haftorah from the book of Samuel 1, chapter 20, that mentions Erev Rosh Chodesh. Very strange. Why a special Haftorah for Erev Rosh Chodesh? This Shabbos is Erev Rosh Chodesh, because when is Rosh Chodesh, Avi? Sunday. So we're going to read an Haftorah from Samuel 1 that mentions Erev Rosh Chodesh. So why is Erev Rosh Chodesh so special that Chazal had a special Haftorah read for Erev Rosh Chodesh? There's no other Erev Yontif that gets a special Haftorah. Any other, Erev Yontif that gets a special Haftorah? No. Why Dafke Erev Rosh Chodesh Chazal saw fit to give a special Haftorah? What's so special about Erev Rosh Chodesh that deserves a special Haftorah? Well, Yom Tov, everybody knows that Yom Tov is coming. You don't need an Erev Yom Tov to remind you that Yom Tov is coming. But a lot of people seem to ignore Rosh Chodesh. Some people seem to underplay Rosh Chodesh. Maybe it's not that important. It's not one of the Sholosh Regalim. So Chazal went out of the way to have a special Erev Rosh Chodesh reading. Rosh Chodesh is important. Even though it's not one of the Sholosh Regalim, Rosh Chodesh needs to be played up. Yom Tov doesn't need a reminder. Rosh Chodesh needs a reminder. Some Jews ignore it, say that it's not that important. So we have the Haftorah from Samuel 1. Yonatan says to David, Mocher Chodesh. Tomorrow is what? Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is coming. Don't ignore it. Play it up. Chazal played it up. Because what's so special about Rosh Chodesh? Rosh Chodesh is the power of Chidush. Rosh Chodesh is the power of Chidush, that every Jew can reinvent himself and rejuvenate himself. Even though a Jew masquerades like Esav, he can still become Yaakov again. Just because you act like Esav, you don't have to become Esav. The power of Chodesh is the power of Chidush, the power to rejuvenate yourself. Reinvent yourself. Just like the moon looks like it's about to be swallowed up by blackness, right? The moon keeps coming back. The Jewish people have this power of chidush. Despite the horrors of Hitler and Auschwitz, 3 years later, we came back to build this wonderful country. It looked like we're all totally swallowed up in blackness in Auschwitz. The moon disappears, but the Jewish people, Avi, like the moon, were the great comeback kid. And that's the power of Rosh Chodesh, and therefore Chazal felt that we have to play up the importance of Rosh Chodesh.
We announce Rosh Chodesh every Shabbos. Why?
You announce
every month except for Elul. We announce it. What's so special? Because this one being Saturday night, because they don't have time to check.
No, not announce. You need.
We announce everything.
Everybody's in shul on Rosh Shabbos.
We're going to announce it this Saturday.
Right. But more people are in shul on Shabbat than regular. So Chazal felt that the people get an extra boost on it whenever Erev Shabbos, whenever Shabbat is Erev Rosh Chodesh, we read this Haftorah to play up the aspect of Rosh Chodesh. Chodesh and Shabbos are connected, Yudah. Shabbos comes from the word what? Shav. On Shabbos you can do tshuva, and Rosh Chodesh also you can what? Lechadesh et atzmeinu, to rejuvenate ourselves. So here the Yonatan is speaking to King David. King David, what? Has to go into hiding because who's looking for him to knock him off? His father-in-law, Shaul. Some father-in-laws don't like their son-in-laws. We forget that David HaMelech was a son-in-law of what? Of Shaul. So David has to go into hiding, and Yonatan says, Machar Chodesh. Tomorrow's Rosh Chodesh. On a deeper level, what's he telling him? Your time, David, has not come yet. My father is still the king. Machar, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow you'll get the power of renewal. You have to go into hiding now. My father is still the king. Machar Chodesh. Machar doesn't mean just the next day, Rachmil. Machar can mean what? Tomorrow. Your time has not yet come. There'll come a time where you will renew yourself by David, but not yet. In the middle of Kiddush Levana, we sing David, Melech Yisrael, Chai, Chai, Vekayam. What's the connection between Kiddush Levana and what? And David, Melech Yisrael? Based on this Haftorah, Machar Chodesh. Yonan is saying to David, Machar Chodesh. So what do you mention David, Melech Yisrael in what? In Kiddush Levana, Chai, Vekayam. So what's the message? Just like the moon. Does the moon have any light of its own, Shirley? No. The moon has no light of its own. The moon is only a reflection of what? Of the sun. So the great King David, the great Rambo of the Middle East, all of his power and light, he says, I'm just like the moon compared to the sun. Just like the moon has no light of its own, it's only a reflection of what? Of the sun. All of my power and glory, it's not mine. It's all a reflection of what? The Melech Malchei Amlachim. So that's David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. Like the moon has no light of its own, it's only a reflection of the sun. So the great King David says, my greatness, my glory, and my light, it's not mine. It's all the Melech Malchei Hamlachim. Now in the Haftorah, the signal that Yonatan gives David, he's going to shoot 3 arrows. Right? And if the arrows are far or near, it's a signal for him to go into hiding. Shloshat achitzim. What's the with the 3 arrows? What's the message over here? We have to know the signal from 3,000 years ago, how King David's going to go into hiding. What is the message of the arrows? Why did David go into hiding? Do you remember? It's Lashon Hara. Doeg slandered King David to whom? To Shaul. Doeg poisoned Shaul's mind against what? King David with Lashon Hara. Yirmiyahu compares Lashon Hara to what? To a chetz. What does a chetz mean? An arrow. Just like when you shoot an arrow, you cannot take it back. So when you speak Lashon Hara, you can't retrieve it. It's out there like a shot arrow. Lashon Hara is like shooting an arrow at somebody. Once it's spoken, once it's shot, there's no calling it back. So David HaMelech suffered from vicious lashon hara from the mouth of Doeg, who poisoned Shaul HaMelech's mind against him. So why 3 arrows? Why should I care, Rabbi, how many arrows Yonatan shot? Tanakh is not a history book. Tanakh is what? GPS, God's personal system. Chazal say that a lashon hara kills 3 people. It kills the speaker, it kills the listener, it kills the person being spoken about. So the Shlosha Tachitzim in the Haftorah over here, the 3 arrows represent the 3 casualties of lashon hara. The one who speaks lashon hara, the one who hears lashon hara, and the one who what? It's talked about. Shlosha Tachitzim. Here you have the 3 parties. Doeg spoke lashon hara against King David. Who accepted it? Shaul. Who was talked about? David. So you have the 3 parties who suffered from the lashon hara. That's represented by what? By the 3 arrows. Powerful message. Lashon hara led to this tragic break between Shaul HaMelech and his son-in-law. Who's his son-in-law, Ray? King David. King David was his son-in-law, right? Some father-in-laws have it in for their son-in-laws, right? So be careful about lashon hara. Make sure that your lashon hara is not like a poison arrow. That's why they got the English poison arrow. Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, poison arrow, lashon hara poisons people against each other. Look what it did to Shaul HaMelech, the great king. Love for David turned to hatred because he accepted what? The lashon hara of Doeg, represented by the 3 arrows. Let's take a look at the incredible how the parsha always speaks to current events. I just couldn't make this up. Incredible current events in the parsha. You have to look inside, otherwise you think I'm hallucinating. What's in the headlines? Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment here. Right? Take a look at the parsha. It's incredible. Look at the parsha. This week's is Parsha's Toldot. In Bereshis 26, Parsha's Toldot, Yitzchak moves to the land of the Palestinians. 125. Yitzchak moves to the land of the Palestinians because there's a hunger in Eretz Yisrael proper. So he moves to Gaza, the land of the Plishtim, and people ask him who this gorgeous woman is with him. Genesis 26, verse 7, and he says what? He says what? She's my sister. Just like his father gave the ruse. So what's good for dad is good for him. He also pretends that his beautiful wife is what? His sister. He's living among the Plishtim. Okay? Then they find out that what? That it's really his wife. They find out it's really his wife, right? So what does Avimelech say afterwards? Avimelech says afterwards, when he finds out who he really is, he says in Genesis 26:11, "Vayitzav Avimelech al kol ha'am leimor, hanogea b'ish hazeh b'ishtay mot yumat." Anyone that sexually harasses Rivka will be put to death. Ray, I couldn't make this up. The headline: sexual harassment. The parsha of the week, Koinky Dinky, Rebbe Tzalel, Genesis 26:11. Avimelech commands his people: anyone that sexually harasses Rivka, mot yumat. So according to the Torah, a sexual harasser, Abraham, should have what?
Well,
isn't that incredible?
It says the man too.
Okay, the man too. Okay.
Not just
but the Iker is Ishto, mot yumat. So you have current events. You have current events what? In the parsha. Pretty incredible. Now here you have the parsha of the wells. The Palestinians, the Plishtim, they terrorize Yitzchak, and they sabotage acts of terror. They clog up the wells that he dug. Plishtim, Palestinians.
There's no Palestinians.
Plishtim. How's that Plishtim?
No Palestinians.
All right, call them Palestinians, Philistines, the same word, whatever. But the Torah calls them Plishtim. Plishtim.
You acknowledge me, he's right.
So right,
He's
so
right,
we need to know why the Torah tells me this incident that the Plishtim terrorized Yitzchak Avinu. This happened 3,800 years ago, Shirley. The Torah is not a history book. The Torah is what? Current events. What is the message of the wells over here? Again, current events. Gaza doesn't have much water. Israel doesn't have much water. There's a water shortage. If there is today, 3,800 years ago there was. There wasn't enough water. The Plishtim hated Yitzchak so much that they destroyed their own water supply in order to what? Terrorize Yitzchak. Betzalel, today's headlines. Hamas, they're building tunnels with all the tons of concrete that the EU gives them to build hospitals and schools. What are they doing? They're building tunnels to terrorize us. They know that the IDF will collapse the tunnels on them to destroy them. Can't help myself. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Current events. They're so full of hate against us. They're willing to self-destruct, building these self-destructing tunnels. Like 3,800 years ago, they sabotaged the water supply. The Torah is saying, who are you negotiating with? I can't stop hating you. Ray, current events or ancient history?
Absolutely.
Incredible. They're so full of hate. They self-destruct to get to us. With their tunnels and their acts of sabotage and terror, they're hurting themselves. Just last week, 15 terrorists got collapsed in a tunnel. The IDF destroyed. They know it's going to happen. Ken Yirbu. So here, the Plishtim terrorize Yitzchak by sabotaging the wells. They're going to go thirsty too. So what? As long as they get a chance to terrorize a Jew. What a powerful message the Torah is saying. Who are you negotiating with?
Rabbi,
And why? What? Just read the text. They haven't changed in 3,700 years. Our so-called peace partners. After all Yitzchak does for them, how did they repay him? With terror. All we do for them? Terror. Ray, nothing has changed in 3,700 years.
Rabbi, we've got 5 of the bodies.
Yeah. Ken Yirbu. Ray, how do you say in English Ken Yirbu? How do you say that in English? Ken Yirbu.
We should
Right. Bring him on now. Now what is the message of Yaakov and Esav over here? Was Esav born evil? When I was a kid, there was a song, Born to be Wild. Remember that song? Was Esav born evil? Well, Rashi seems to say so. If you look in Genesis 25, verse 25, the firstborn was born all red. Rashi says, why was he born red? Genesis 25, 25. Siman, that he's going to be Shoifech Damim. What does that mean? Carlo Gambino, remember him? Da, 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 da. I won't give up my day job, don't worry. He's going to be a murderer, so what do you want from poor Esav? He was born red, says Rashi, Shofech Damim. The devil made me do it. So why blame Esav?
Because it could have been a butcher
Oh.
or a moil.
It says by David HaMelech, that he was also Admoni. In fact, the Talmud says when Shmuel went to anoint one of the sons of Yishai, and God said, David is the one, Shmuel said to God, are you sure? He looks like Uncle Esav. He's also Admoni. You hear this, Masha? Admoni. So what's the message? Every person is born with base tendencies. Esav could have been King David. Should I repeat that? Esav could have been King David, and King David could have been what? Esav. They're both born with a tendency to shed blood. King David channeled that to kill Abu Mamzer and terrorists. Esav chose to kill innocent people. Everybody's born with base natural instinct. What's it called?
Yeah.
Base natural instinct. Our tafkid is what? To channel them. Not to get rid of them, to control and manage them. So if David could have been Esav, and Esav could have been David. David used his bloodlust to kill terrorists, to eliminate Israel's enemies. So he channeled that drive. Esav chose to kill innocent people. So you can't say the devil made me do it. Every instinct, every impulse a person has, he can channel and control and manage it if he chooses. This is the message. Now, despite Esav being evil, it says that Yitzchak continued to what? To love him. Yitzchak continued to love him, and he never kicked him out of the house. Why tell me about that? So much so that in his old age he gets blind. If you look at Genesis 26, verse 35, Genesis 26, verse 35, that Esav's wives caused a lot of bitter feelings to whom? To Yitzchak and Rivka. Does the text say that? No? Anybody in English?
Genesis 27:1, isn't it?
26:35, Genesis 26:35, that the Esav's wives were Morat Ruach, the Yitzchak or Rivka. They caused a lot of bitterness to whom? To Yitzchak and Rivka. So why not kick them out? If they're causing you such anguish, why didn't Yitzchak and Rivka expel his daughter-in-laws? Why sit and suffer? And why tell me about it, B'Tzalel? And what's the message?
That's how they ruined their Shabbat.
I think that what? The message is, despite how bad your kids are, never kick them out. Never disown them. Yitzchak, despite suffering from Esav and the daughter-in-laws, never kicked him out, never expelled him, because you never give up on a child. You can divorce your spouse, but you can never divorce a child. Ray, I think that's the message.
Maybe the message is the opposite.
I think
Maybe
that's
he should have kicked him out.
Never divorce a child. And so look, he failed with Esav, but he succeeded with Eliphaz. Eliphaz ben Esav, his grandson, he became a Navi. If you look in the book of Job, the book of Erev, one of the Erev's friends is the prophet Eliphaz. So even though Yitzchak failed with his son, he was successful with his son, with his grandson. So you never know. You never give up on any child, no matter how rotten. You're not allowed to give up on a child. The Kotzker Rebbe and the Baal Shem Tov, they've learned from over here that that's the Torah's message. Never give up on any child, even though he is evil, because he can always what? Change. And even if he doesn't change, his grandchildren. Eliphaz became a righteous person. Look in the book of Job, the grandson, Eliphaz, yes? You look in the book of Job, Eliphaz was a Navi, no less.
And he was a grandson of
Yitzchak. Check the Divrei Hayamim. Check.
From Esav.
He was a son of Esav and a grandson of Yitzchak.
Wow.
So you never know. Powerful message over here. You had a question?
No, so you answered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the Torah goes on over here and tells us why Rivka, she schemes and plans to make sure that the blessing goes to whom? Because she got a nevuah that the bracha has to go to the younger one. Why couldn't she share the nevuah with her husband? Because God never told the Lamor. But the Gemara in Yevamah says if a Navi gets a nevuah and God doesn't say Lamor, he can't even share it with his own spouse or her spouse. So therefore, Rivka never got the word Lamor. She was supposed to keep this under wraps. And the Navi gets to Nevuah, has to make sure that what? That it comes true. And she couldn't share it because God never authorized her to share the prophecy. So she tells Yaakov to what? Fake out his father, deceive his father, lie to his father. Shoshana, is that cricket?
So it seems, because
No.
that's
Titan emet Yaakov. The prophet says, Titan emet Yaakov. Are you allowed to lie and cheat and dishonor your father, Ray? No. So how come Yaakov listened to his mother? If your mother says, go slap your father, are you allowed to do it? No. So how could Rivka listen? See, I'm glad you're awake. How could Yaakov listen, I gotta get a scorecard, to his mother to tell him to dishonor his father? You can't do that. So Unculus answers the question. You have to have Unculus. No Unculus, Ray. So Yaakov doesn't want to do it. 1 second. Yaakov said, I cannot dishonor my father. I can't listen to you to fake out and cheat and lie to my dad. So what does she say to him? Olai kaloscha bani. You don't have a book, Rabbi Abraham, but you have Unculus. You mind passing the book down to Abraham? You got to look at Unculus. Perik Chav Zayin, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Perik Chav Zayin, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Genesis 27:13. My curse, your curse is what? On me, says Unculus. Vameret le'imei alai itamar b'nevuah. Unculus Yud Gimel. It was told to me b'nevuah. I'm telling you, b'Torah's nevuah, that you have to what? Dishonor and lie to your father. Now we know, right, B'Tzalel, that there's a hara'at sha'ah. A Navi can tell you to temporarily suspend any Torah law except Avodah Zarah on a one-time basis. How could Eliyahu Navi tell the Jews to sacrifice to God on Mount Carmel? That's 94 miles outside the Beis Hamikdash. Sacrificing to God, outside the Beis Hamikdash is shchutei chutz, is chayiv karet. So how can the Jews listen to Eliyahu Navi? Why did they listen? What's the answer? Hara'at sha'ah. The year when the Beis Hamikdash was dedicated by Shlomo HaMelech, that year, if you look at the Gemara Moed Katan, page 9, that year the Jews, instead of fasting on Yom Kippur, they what? They feasted. Shlomo HaMelech told them, this year, guys, instead of fasting, we're feasting. So don't try this Ray at home. You have to be a bona fide Navi with a CV and a track record. So if a bona fide Navi tells you to break any Torah law, except Avodah Zarah, as long as he says it's what? Temporary basis, you must listen. 1 second, Rivka's saying, Alai it amar b'nevuah. I'm telling you b'nevuah that you must deceive your father. Hara'at sha'ah, and therefore Yaakov had no choice but to what? To listen. Just like the Jews that Yom Kippur, when Shlomo Melech ordered them to feast on that Yom Kippur, they had to listen. If he says from now on we're feasting on Yom Kippur, he's a Novi Sheker. But he said, no, this Yom Kippur, temporary injunction, a Novi can pull this, and therefore it had to be this way. Question is why, but she's saying with Torah's Novi that we have to deceive Yitzchak in order for you to get what? The bracha.
How does Yaakov know that his mother's a...
Because he read Unculus. Amaret le'imei alai it amar b'nevuah.
How does Yaakov know to listen to him?
Because that's what Unculus tells us. Alai it amar b'nevuah. I'm telling you, if you read Unculus, I'm telling you b'Torah's nevuah. Otherwise he had no right to listen. Unculus translates Pasuk 13, I am telling you, it amar b'nevuah, that you have to do this and you have to listen to a Navi. Hara'at shah, even he tells you to break a Torah law. Okay, now why was it so important for Rivka to make sure that what? That Yaakov gets the bracha. She got the nevuah, but she seems to be really going overboard to make sure that what? That Yaakov... She got the nevuah. So take a pill and lie down. Why are you so agitated? Why is she scheming and plotting? You got the nevuah that Yaakov is going to what? Get the bracha. So take it easy. So Masha, you see that when a Navi gets a Nevuah, he has to what? B'tzalel, he has to what? Can he sit back and relax? He has to make it happen. He has to make it happen. But why was it so important? Fasten your seatbelts. For this, you'll fall off your chair. Look at Genesis 27, verse 8. Keep in mind, there are no extra words in the Torah. Genesis 27, Pasuk 8. What does she say to him? If you're not looking in, please pass it down to somebody. Va'ata b'ni, shema b'koli. Now, my son, hear my voice and listen to me to fake out dear old dad. The word ata, which means achshav, seems to be superfluous. What do you mean, now, my son? Yesterday you were not my son. How do English translate that? You don't have it? Genesis 27, 8.
It says that...
Now, my son. What do you mean, now, my son? Yesterday you were not my son? Fasten your seatbelts. No. Says the Ariya Kodosh. Rivka was a Gilgul of Chava. Rivka spelled backwards is what? Ha-kever. The word Rivka spelled backwards is ha-kever, says the Ari. Why? Who brought the grave to the world? Who brought death to the world? Symbol of the kever. Chava. She brought the kever to the world. So she comes back as Rivka, backwards ha-kever. And Yaakov Avinu was a Gilgul of Adam. She says, now you're my son. But the first time around, we were husband and wife. And I misled you with the Eitz Hadas. Now that you're my son, we're going to fix it. By getting you the bracha, I will have atoned the tikkun of the Eitz Hadat. So now you're my son. The first time around, you were my hubby. Ooh.
Here says, now therefore my son.
Ata achshav. The Ariya Kodosh, the Sefer Gegulim, in the Shara Gegulim, the Chaim Vital quotes his Rebbe. That's why she says, now you're my son, and why Rivka spelled backwards is hakever. She was a Gilgul of Chava, and Yaakov was a Gilgul of Adam, and they both messed up with the Eitz Hadas, thanks to her who brought death to the world, symbolized by Rivka, Keva backwards. So now we're going to fix it. Somehow, by getting Yaakov the bracha, Avi, you get a scorecard? Yaakov alias what? Adam, and Rivka alias Chava. They messed up. Now they're going to come back and what? Fix it. What's the message, Avi? You can pay me now, or you can pay me later.
It doesn't say now you are my son.
Yes, that's what the Hebrew says. I don't know what the English says. It says, Va'ata b'ni. Ata with an I in Masha. You know Hebrew. Ata with an I means what? Achshav. Now you're my son. The word now, Avram, is redundant. You don't need it. What do you mean? Yesterday you weren't my son. Because last time around you were not my son. You happened to my hubby. Ooh, pretty frightening over here. Pretty frightening. Okay?
Not really, because...
But this time around, right? Come on. Different bodysuits. Right? You need a scorecard. Elishev, you need a scorecard. I would ask you, when the resurrection of the dead, will the real me stand up?
So, Rabbi, was she conscious that this was the case?
Yes, she knew.
So
she was a Navi. The Ariya Kodesh, what? We don't know. We don't know who we are. But great people, she was a prophetess. Great people know who they were. Right? She was a prophetess. So she knew. Right? She knew.
That's a good question.
What? But anyway, what's the message over here? He wants to give the bracha to whom?
Esav.
To Esav. So he sends him out, get me a good pastrami sandwich. Make for me delicious what? Roast beef smothered with onions and pickles and potatoes. The great Yitzchak Avinu. He needs a roast beef sandwich on rye with mustard. And what's the Torah telling me over here? Ma Messer, Paul. Sal, you sitting down? Ma Messer, for the year 2017. Yitzchak Avinu, the Akedah, right? The holiest of the three prophets, the holiest of the three. How do I know the holiest of the three? Because Abraham left Eretz Yisrael. Yaakov left. Could Yitzchak leave? God says, you can't leave. You're an oila tamima. You cannot leave, Pisgat Zev. Rechavia. His father left. Avram left. And his son left, but he couldn't leave. He's interested what do you say, matamim? Gourmet deluxe? Japan. What's it called? Moshe Peking. What's the message? Masha, what's the message?
He said the reason he loved Esav is because he liked that kind of food.
Oh, that begs the question. Yitzchak Avinu, he loves Esav because he gives him a good what? Gourmet meal. But what does it mean? Masha, you're begging the question. Beg.
No,
I have an answer. I'm saying, well, what's the Torah telling me? Ma Mesrapo. Yitzchak Avinu, a Navi Hashem, you think he didn't know who Esav was? He knew Esav's not going to be no Rosh Yeshiva. He knew that.
But he was very devoted to him.
But you don't have to be a Rosh Yeshiva to go to heaven. He knew that he excelled in Kibbut Av V'Eim.
Very devoted.
I'm going to tell you, every person has his strong points and weak points. You're never going to be a Rosh Yeshiva, but you can still get to heaven. You're great in Kibbut Av V'Eim. You excel in that. Be busy with that. If you go out and hunt and make a nice meal for me, every stage, all your ishtadlut increases your kibbut av v'eim. You're good at that. Work on that, and that'll get you to heaven. What a powerful message. Now, I used to love baseball. Baruch Hashem, I outgrew baseball. But I used to be a crazy baseball fan. And the guy wrote a book, Baseball and the Torah. I'm not joking. I'll never forget this. Betzalel.
Which team?
Yankees. But I remember when Jim Catfish Hunter was admitted to the Hall of Fame. I'm telling you, whatever you hear and do in life, you can what? Bring it back to Kedusha. Jim Catfish Hunter was admitted to the Hall of Fame. And he made a teary-eyed speech. Now then, I was a teenager then, but I'm now thinking about how it fits in with Torah values. Everything you hear and do in life can be what? Deputized. How do you say that?
That's right.
Elevated. Bring it home. He made a speech teary-eyed. He said when he was working out in the minors, he had a very, very good fastball and a very weak curveball. So he kept working on his curveball. His fastball was very good. His curveball was lousy. He kept working hours, schwitzing on the curveball. The coach told him, you're a shaita. You are not going to make it to the major league. No matter how hard you work on your curveball, that will not make you a major leaguer. You have a great fastball. Put all of your koiches and energy in your fastball, and you become a major leaguer. I listened to my coach, and I'm the Hall of Fame. What Catfish Hunter said, he thought he's talking about baseball. Who's he talking about? Esav and Yitzchak. You'll never make it with your curveball. You'll never be a Rosh Yeshiva. But you excel in Kibbut Av V'Eim. Work on that. Be a gourmet chef to feed me and your mother. Excel in Kibbut Av V'Eim. Put your energy in your fastball, and you'll make it to the Hall of Fame. But Sal, it's scary. I must have heard this, 30 years ago when Catfish Hunter got admitted? But look how it clicks. How it clicks. That's the Torah telling me. The gourmet meal wasn't for Yitzchak's benefit. It was to be mazak, how do you say it in English? To give merit to his wayward son. Work on your fastball, and you make it to the Hall of Fame. What a powerful message from Jim Catfish Hunter, lahavdil, but from whom really? Before Catfish Hunter said it, who said it? Yitzchak Avinu to Esav, Vaseli matamim. From Geschmack, gewaldig. So I never would have been a baseball fan. I never could have applied it to. A guy wrote a book, Baseball and Torah. You can Google it. Baseball and Torah. It's amazing. Right? The great tzaddik, Rav Scheinberg, the one who wore a lot of tzitzis, he admits when he was a young boy, he was a great Yankee fan.
1987.
He was a great Yankee fan. And you can learn messages from baseball. You can learn messages. Rav Aaron Rakefet, the great disciple of Rav Yoshe Ber Soloveitchik, he gave a drasha when Joe DiMaggio died. Incredible. Please hear me. He was also a great baseball fan. He was Rav Aaron Rakefet, Shlita. Please close that. Please close that. When Joe DiMaggio died, he gave a hesped for Joe DiMaggio. He said from Atalena Goy Kevin Milanin. When he was a young boy, he went to Yankee Stadium. And Joe DiMaggio then was on his last legs.
Literally.
He's already literally on his last legs.
Literally.
And he was in the stands, Rakefet, a young boy. I think it was 1949 or 50. Joe was on his last legs. He had a routine ground ball to shortstop. Be out by 10 miles. He ran with all of his koiches to first base. Got thrown out by a mile. So after the game, the reporters asked him, Joe, you're a superstar, a sure Hall of Fame, you're on the way. Why are you running with all your might, a routine ground ball? You're thrown out by 10 miles anyway. You know what he said? Rabbi Kefet said, he said to the reporter after the game, people pay good money to see me. They spend their hard-earned money. I'm not going to give it all my all. A routine ground ball, so what? They pay to see me. I'm going to give it all my koiches. He said, that stuck with me, Rabbi Kefet said. A Jew has to give all of his koiches. A routine ground ball, you're going to run it out. Avram, from baseball, Torah lesson. Everything in life you can what? Learn and apply it to Torah values, right? That's the tafkid. So it's just amazing here how the Torah speaks about the hatred of the Plishtim that the Plishtim had to what? To Yitzchak Avinu, and how we see it's all playing out again, all playing out. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The sabotage, the terror in 3,700 years, right? How they're terrorizing Russians. They suffer more because they get collapsed tunnels on their heads, right? They get electricity cut off.
Make it miserable.
They make it miserable. Their hatred is so strong for us, Ray, they can't help themselves. And who taught us that? The Plishtim, Yitzchak Avinu, the Torah is writing it. Who are you negotiating with? People that hate you more than what? They appreciate their own lives. And who are you talking about? What's the message? Powerful message over here. Now, the end of the parsha. We all know who Rivka, we know the players, right, Masha? We know the players. Rivka, strange pasuk, Genesis 28, verse 5. Any volunteers? Genesis 28, verse 5. Don't all answer at once. Yitzchak sends Yaakov away to, in English. You want to read it aloud so the microphone can hear? Yitzchak sends Yaakov away.
Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram to Lavan, the son of Basuah, the Aramean, the brother of Rivka, the mother of Yaakov and Esau.
Gee whiz, I wouldn't know until now that Rivka's what? The mother of what? Yaakov and Esau. Hello, Shoshana. I've been following the story over and over again that Rivka's what? Avi, the Rivka's the mother of Yaakov and Esau. Why tell me in the end of the parsha, when you told me so many times before that Rivka gave birth to what? Yaakov and Esau. Why did the Torah repeat that what? That Rivka happens to be what? The mother of Yaakov and Esau. Gee, Dorit, I didn't know until now. Rashi says, Eina Yedeya Ma Melamdenu. Rashi says, help. Help. Now, please hear me well. Many times the Tzala Rashi does not comment. He could have skipped this. I don't know what the Torah is teaching me. So you don't know, skip it. Many times Rashi doesn't comment to anything, Ray. Rashi only comments when something is bothering him. If it's not bothering him, he wouldn't comment. He could have skipped this, but then he would mislead me, because then I would think it doesn't bother him. He comments, Eini Yodea Ma Melamdenu. I don't know what this verse is teaching me. Who by now doesn't know that what? That Rivka is the mother of what? Yaakov and Esau. So Rashi couldn't skip it. Didn't want to mislead me. It bothers him, and he doesn't know why, and he's not ashamed to say any Yodea. The greatest Rishon of all, who's the greatest Bible commentator? Rashi. He says more than any other Bible commentator, Eina Yodea Ma Melamdenu. That's how you can count. Throughout Shas and Chumash, 77 times. 77 times, the greatest of all Bible commentators and Talmud commentator, Rashi, says, Eina Yodea Ma Melamdenu. I don't know what this verse is teaching. So if you don't know, who cares? Don't say anything. Ma Messer Po. The greatest of all says more than any other scholar, Eini Yodea Ma Melamdenu. What does Rashi stand for? What does it also stand for? Rabban Shel Yisrael. Rashi, CIA, FBI, IRS. Rabban Shel Yisrael, the master teacher of all Israel. He's teaching a great lesson. Don't be ashamed to say, I don't know. What a message. Don't be ashamed to say, I don't know. The greatest teacher of all says more than any other teacher, 77 times, Eini Yodea Ma Melamdenu. What a message. A powerful message of the greatest teacher besides Moshe Rabbeinu. Eini Yodea Ma Melamdenu. Don't be ashamed to admit that you don't know. That's also teaching a lesson, Avi, what? No shanda to say you don't know. Rashi threw out a challenge. And other Bible commentators, they picked up the gauntlet, and they tried to answer Rashi's question. How is it possible that the righteous Rivka should have a wicked son like Esau, a righteous father Yitzchak, a righteous mother like Rivka? How is it possible that she can give birth to an Esau? Well, the Pasuk says, where did she come from? Her brother was what? The wicked Lavan. You have a brother like Lavan, even though you're righteous, you can give birth to an Esau.
Comes in the family.
So therefore the Talmud says, before you marry a girl, you should what? Check out the brother. Check out the brother. Good thing Yitzchak didn't. Otherwise he would never marry Rivka. We wouldn't have no Yaakov.
He didn't do any checking.
Well, I didn't know checking.
Eliezer should have done
right? So you know why she could be the mother of an Esav? Because look who her bro was. Lavan, that lowlife. Lavan spelled backward. Lavan means what? Whitey. Remember Whitey Ford? Maybe he was an albino. But Lavan spelled backwards is what? Novel. What does novel mean? Lowlife. He put on an act, I'm Lavan, I'm Willie Light. Willie Light? Lily White. But actually he was novel. So you have a brother like Lavan, you could be the mother of an Esau. That's the Ramban's explanation. But Rashi threw out the challenge. Powerful message. Powerful message over here. How not to be ashamed to admit a person doesn't know, right? Don't make excuses. Nicht gefährlich to say that what? That you don't know. Now the Haftarah that we're not going to read, because it's Erev Rosh Chodesh, is from the book of what? Of Malachi. Malachi makes a strange statement. He says that if your Torah teacher is a malach, you should study Torah from him. But if he's not a malach, find yourself another teacher. I don't understand that. Gemara in Chagiga, page 15, comments on this verse.
It's in the small book, it's page 354. And in this book, it's
Parshas Toldot, the Haftarah of Toldot, the last verse in Malachi. So the Talmud Darshan Chagiga, if your Torah teacher is a malach, study Torah by him. And if he's not a malach, find another teacher. Let's go. Let's all go home. I mean, Koheles says, Avram,
11:37 and
the very last verse on the Haftorah, the lips of the Kohen will what? Observe knowledge. You should seek Torah by his mouth because he's a malach. Koheles says that every human being what? Sins. How could he be a malach? How could your Torah teacher be a malach? Every human being sins. Koheles says every human being sins. Rav Soloveitchik explains, it doesn't mean that. He's a malach. There's something about a malach. A malach array cannot progress. He's stuck in neutral. A malach cannot grow spiritually, cannot move forward. He's a robot. A human being progresses. A Torah teacher, to be successful, has to be willing to be like a malach. In other words, to stop growing spiritually to relate to his students. A teacher has to sacrifice his own spiritual advancement to teach students. If he's not willing to do that, find another teacher. You're the great Rav Soloveitchik. Ki malach Hashem tzavaot. A malach cannot progress. A malach cannot grow. A malach is where he is. Human being can progress. You want to find a good Torah teacher. When he's teaching you, he has to make believe he's a malach. He has to sacrifice his own spiritual growth, progress, and advancement to lower himself to teach his students. If he's not willing to do that, find yourself another teacher, says Rav Soloveitchik. Why not you? You argue with Rav Soloveitchik?
Pirkei says that when you teach students, you actually become a greater person because you have insights from all your students.
Where does it say that? Doesn't say in the Pirkei. It says Harbe l'madati marabotav tamid ayotam kulam. It doesn't.
It says you're greater.
Doesn't say greater. No. Show me. I'm a text man. Show me where it says. But still, you are giving up. You could be learning Shas and Poskim, and you're teaching him Chumash and Rashi. You're giving up your own steiging for him. That's like a malach. You're stunting your spiritual growth. If you're not willing to do that, said Rav Soloveitchik, find yourself another teacher. Show me that Pirkei Avos. It doesn't exist.
It does.
No, let's bet. You want to bet?
Okay, wait.
Show me.
Bet,
Show me.
you learn a lot from your students.
I admit, the Talmud says, Harbe l'madati mirabotai imatamid ayotem mikulam.
Okay, there you go.
Right?
Okay, so
But it's not so obvious. It's not so obvious. You know, it's here and there. But a person can, a great teacher can steig, but he has to be willing to give that up in order to relate to his students. And that's what Soloveitchik says, that's what the Navi means. Yes?
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank
for
you.
lowering yourself to teach.
Thank Chas v'sholom. I'm getting a lift from you. Yes?
Doesn't that just mean at the moment that he's teaching?
Right.
The rest of his time,
No, it means the moment of teaching. The moment of his teaching. He could be steiging away, and he's backtracking when he's teaching what? Aleph Beis. Or Chumash Rashi. That's a great teacher. Yes?
I don't want to supersede Rashi, who said any Yodea, but could it be Aim, Rivka Aim,
Yaakov and Esau.
stating that she, even though she was the mother of the two, she didn't give the bracha to her before. She organized to give it to
Right,
her.
despite being his mother as well.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you. Sunday we have a shiur at 2 o'clock. Why do we bless the moon? Does the moon need my blessing? That's Sunday at 2. Shabbat shalom and thank you.